Well, yes, good afternoon, everybody, and good morning from Perth in Western Australia. The sun's just up, so it's a nice start. Obviously, as Gwen said, I'm Mike Povey, and I'm the CEO of Gold Basin Resources. I'm also a mining engineer by background, so we've got a couple of us here on here today. As you can see from that sort of slide, we're currently listed on the CSE and the OTCQB, but you would have seen a news release today that we're progressing with a TSXV listing application. So that'll be sort of ongoing. I'm fairly quick, I would imagine. Yeah, I'm going to run through some background to the Gold Basin project and what we've learned in the last year, particularly about the Cyclopic section of Gold Basin. But I think I'll probably emphasise up front that the Cyclopic is really just a part of what is the overall potential of Gold Basin. As we run through, it's a very exciting area. There's a lot of mineralisation about. We've got a good chunk of ground. So let me take you through that. First, some forward-looking statements. There's our current board. Got a strong board. As I said, I'm a mining engineer. Charles Straw, director there, is a geologist, and we've recently added John Robbins and Darren Klink to the board that I'm sure some people in the audience and in Canada will know fairly well. And we've also joined the Discovery Group, which we're really pleased about, actually. We've worked well with the Discovery guys in the last 12 months with our capital raise and discussions on the project and where we think it's going. So that's a nice thing, and I think it will give us a great deal more exposure in North America, as well as the expertise that we can tap in as well. So we're pleased about that. Now, our project, well, the Gold Basin project lies about 50 miles southeast of Vegas. You can see it there. It's in this Walker Lane trend where essentially it's that sort of transition area between the copper-dominated south and the gold-dominated in the north there. It's really, in terms of location, you really couldn't have asked for too much more in a future mine development. We're just west of I-93, the high-powered 345 kV transmission line from Mead runs just west of the property. Literally, we drive under it to go to it. It's a very convenient sort of location, and obviously being in a mining-friendly district like Arizona, it sort of augurs well for any future development there. In fact, we get that much support really from the authorities there in terms of some of the things we've been asking them about. It's terrific. Makes a change actually from some areas. The project itself, well, it's over 31 square kilometres of ground there, and that's 290 unpatented mining claims and about 5 private mineral rights, which make up about 35% of the project area. And recently we acquired the surface rights over most of a big chunk, actually, not most of it, but we've got probably about half of the private mineral rights. So we actually got the surface rights and the private mineral rights over what you'll see in the stealth there and areas around that, which is the main private minerals rights areas. The project itself, I'm sort of, before I go into the work we've done, because it's quite interesting that the work we've actually just put in is really the first really modern exploration in the last 20 years. And I'm asked about it quite frequently, why is that the case? And it's kind of an interesting story from the point of view that Gold Basin was typically your older, late 1800s to about 1920s, small underground shows. There was a small couple of open pits in the Cyclopic area in the 1920s. But that sort of all died out by the 1940s with the gold price and what have you. Very little, virtually nothing was done between the last sort of 40 years up until the mid-80s, late 80s. And a New Zealand chap in the early 90s started putting together a package of ground. He's pretty much an entrepreneur. He put together a package of ground. He did very well, actually, in grabbing this package and doing deals with various people. And they went into a public company. And that public company, he sort of, they did some various drilling programs. They did a lot of surface sampling. It was not particularly focused, we'd say, by modern standards. Most of it was around the Cyclopic area. And That because there was a small open pit there. It was reasonably sort of high grade, 5 or 6 gram dirt, it seems like. And they sort of focused there, and given the low gold price at the time, you can probably understand that. But it sort of the company ended up being delisted. And what happened there from that point of view is that the shareholders grabbed it and they looked after the claim. So for the best part of 20 years, it was probably held by a group of New Zealand guys, and they just paid the essentially the rents and rates, and virtually nothing was done. Our group came along in 2014. We ended up doing a JV with these guys, and in the end we did work, put together their databases, and moved on to 100% ownership. So 100% is now in Gold Basin, and really we did some drill holes in 2019, but we had a major program at the end of 2020 and 2021, which has really shown us what we think is going on there. But you can just see from that the area is dominated with some major structural features, the Cyclopic Fault, the Stealth Fault, and there's some dotting of mines around the place as well. There's a lot more when these things looked up close. It's been completely underdone over the years. If we move into the Cyclopic area, which is where we're focusing in the last year of our drilling, because there was a historical database of drill holes, which you can see through this. There's the holes in yellow, they're historical holes, and the circles in white are also historical holes. The ones in yellow are differentiated by being less than 50 meters in depth, and you can see from that, that's in the Cyclopic pit area. They were minor. Some of these holes are only 15 meters deep, some on average less than 50, in fact. And really the guys who were doing that back in the 1990s were looking for extensions of the old sort of small pit there was here, high grade material. And so when we looked at that, we had a fair database of these things, but we really couldn't see too much what was really going on in the mineralization. So our program essentially extended along this 1.7 kilometer area. We extended to the north with a view to hopefully expand the mineralization and learn a lot more about its distribution, because we really couldn't tell too much from the historical drilling. We knew that mineralization was pervasive over a lot of these holes, and as you can see, both from the red stars in the area, there's a lot of rock chip sampling as well. All that stuff's over 1 gram. So each of these, there's a lot of mineralization in the holes, but we did have a good feel for exactly how this was distributed. So our drilling which finished in April 2021. We've got some great intersections across here to the right. We also put in 4 PQ diamond holes along strike on this stuff, mainly for network, because we had we got a good idea in terms of the previous work that was done. So we wanted to make sure during the program that we locked up some diamond core so we could move into network pretty quickly on this oxide material. So what did we learn? Well, we learned when we were through the drilling, there's a section that's basically a north-south section that we've got through our drill holes. We modelled it, and you'll see some of these sections here that we've got these flatline structures. They're vertically stacked layers. They pinch and swell, they push into one another, essentially right from surface. We've only limited this to 90 meters, just as for our first phase of drilling. We were aware that we had detachment fault mineralization there that was flat line, but we had no idea that it was going to end up just how extensive it is and the continuity that we're getting. Essentially, gaps in the mineralization, there are areas where we just haven't drilled. They stack up, blend into one another, as I say, in some places sort of like 30 meters. The scale on this is such that these are quite small gaps. In fact, they're sort of meter intervals in some of these areas. So right from surface, we've got this material. It's all oxide. We've not reached any, and everything's open at depth and sort of east-west. We literally have not sort of entered into a transition zone. It's all oxide still. We've got a couple of historical holes that show that the oxide is down to at least 150 meters, but so we've got to sort of prove that up. But what we've seen is that this lateral extensiveness, that's the north-south section as well. We're drawing much denser. On the east-west, you can see from that similarly we've got sections that showing exactly the same layering. It's all flat. You can see out to the eastern side here, we've got a few historical holes. They show the same sort of layering. We've got nothing out to the west at all, even though we know that we've got mineralization at the stealth area up here. There's just no drilling in these areas is what it amounts to. So looking at that, we've just got obvious priority targets, both over here, and north and south. So effectively, we've got mineralization that runs east, west, north, south, and at depth that's all still open, and it's from surface. So what else we got with regard to the rest of the target areas there? As I said, Cyclopic is really just sort of part of the story. We're almost sport for choice is what it amounts to. The Cyclopic area in here I've just sort of shown you. We've got expansion either side of that. We've got a Fry mine and a Ring Bear mine. We're going to be working on expanding what we've got there. We've got a good idea of the numbers that we've generated with our current drilling. We didn't think it was appropriate at the moment to actually run through a resource because there was just so many gaps that we needed filling in to extend the resource that we know is coming up there. But on top of that, we've also got the stealth target, which is a good historical target. As you can see to the right here, we had some great historical intersections there, and 45 meters at 2.5 grams or 2.25 grams. So that will also focus on our next phase of drilling, which is going to expand this resource and is going to move on to the stealth as a new exploration target. So from our point of view, our timeline is such that we've completed phase 1 drilling early in the year. We've flown a lot of geophysics. We haven't announced anything on that yet. We're still going through the data. We've done some hyperspectral, we've done some 3D magnetic interpretations of it. We're learning a lot, all good. We completed the modeling, so we've got a good feel now for what's going on. Really, really pleased at the extensiveness of this deposit in its lateral extent. It is a really bulk mining target, which is fairly obvious from that. I've run through these things as a mining engineer. I can model it internally. And, in all intents and purposes, there's going to be a mine there one day, and it's a matter of how big. So what are we doing? We've got our second phase of drilling. We're going to start next month. We're going to work on both expanding the resource area at Cyclopic and the new exploration drilling at Stealth, which will add significantly, we think, to what we know is there already. And we've also got metallurgical test work underway with the PQ cord I mentioned earlier is already been cut and it's on its way to the lab. And we hope that that work will take 3 to 4 months. We don't expect any issues there, but it's all based on heap leach recoveries. So we've got KCA and Reno will be working on that. So as far as we're concerned, we've really done most of the geophysics we want to do at the moment. We've got really good understanding of the geology and the mineralization at Cyclopic. We've got a great bulk mining, oxide target, typical of what you see in that part of the world. It's got massive room for expansion, in our opinion. And we've got metallurgical test work, which with a touch of luck will be finished, I think, early in the new year, to be honest, with the way that labs are currently working. And really, we're kind of sport for choice in terms of targets, but we're trying to keep ourselves under control and make sure that we expand Cyclopic and add the stealth one, the exploration work with stealth, so that we can move on from there. And we currently got 100 million shares on issue. We got a market cap, I think, today of about 37, 38 million. And we're fully funded for all the exploration work we've got now. So we're happy where we are. We don't have to go out for any more money. We'll be able to complete these programs, and hopefully we'll have some really good news in about the first quarter of the next year.